Tanishikiawa, Nimuyuya Ndishinikashon Dylan Miner. My name is Dylan Miner. I'm a Michif Wisako de Winini artist from Michigan, and I'm here in Regina working with a bunch of lead artists and primarily with urban native youth to build lowrider bikes, a project I have called Anishnaabensag Biimskowebshkigewag, Native Kids Ride Bikes.
What are you guys doing today?
Building bikes.
Building bikes.
First Nations way. Yeah.
It's about creating the infrastructure to work in different spaces. It's, we're making different bikes each time, but we're making bikes, and ideally, we're teaching skills to the youth, we're teaching ideas, they're teaching me quite a bit in the process.
Hi, my name's Eagleclaw Thom. I went to school at First Nations University and U of R. I got a phone call about a year ago after about a month after Dylan Miner did an exhibition here. He showed the bikes at the MacKenzie about a year ago, and I loved them. I thought they were amazing. I'm an avid cyclist, so I was really excited and happy to be asked and included in this.
Hi, I'm Stacey Fayant. I grew up here in Regina, Saskatchewan. I was raised Métis, but I recently got my treaty status, so I'm on Pepeekisis First Nation. I have my BFA in visual arts with a double major in printmaking and painting, and my women's studies degree, Bachelor Arts Honors, from the University of Regina, both of those. I work in outreach services with the Regina Public Library, and I ride my bike everywhere. I am an avid cyclist because I don't know how to drive, and I like biking. And my dad always rode his bike growing up. We didn't have a car and stuff like that, so it's an integral part of how we've always gotten around the city.
I am a Métis artist living and working in Regina, Saskatchewan. I do primarily beadwork at the moment, but for the most part I work with traditional concepts and materials in general. Mostly just using them for transit. I prefer to travel by bike if I can. Regina is one of those hard cities sometimes though to get around solely by bicycle, especially with cold winters and icy streets. But for the most part, I do try and ride my bike when the weather is friendly.
My name is Keith Bird. I'm a sessional professor at FN University, and I'm also an artist. I don't really call myself an artist. That's for other people's privilege, not for me. And I like working with children. I presently have 6 of my grandchildren right now.
Yeah, so I grew up in lowrider culture a little bit. I grew up into hip hop, and maybe 5 years ago I started thinking about the connections between elders' teachings, between urban Indigenous youth interested in hip hop, and so started thinking about ways to connect up youth and elders and some of that knowledge. And so yeah, I think there's a whether or not a direct connection, for me the idea of being able to do something and do it again and have it reproducible is kind of important. It's really about, much of my work exists outside of markets, outside of, I don't make a lot of work, if any, that's commercial, that's sellable. I gift a lot of stuff away. And even with these, right, the bikes are made and then generally stay in the community. Sometimes when it's at its best, there'll be, kids will get to make their bikes and then keep their own bikes, right?
So the whole project's concept, and all 4 of us are working with the broad sort of Treaty 4 umbrella, and then underneath that we are all taking on different components within Treaty 4, and we are working with the notion of history. So within that history, what I'm focusing on are specific personal, familial histories. So instead of trying to focus on all of the historical events that have happened on Treaty 4 and relate to Treaty 4, what we're trying to do instead is bring in our families and bring in our relatives and share their histories with Treaty 4.
I was given the theme of tradition for my bicycle, and how I'm choosing to go about that is I've chosen to look at various traditions and see if there's ways where we can incorporate that and create new traditions. So we spoke a lot about the 4 directions. We talked a lot about hide painting and teepee painting and year counts and stuff like that in the class. And how we chose to go was a mix of the kind of style of teepee painting with more modern aspects to it, so that it's bridging the gap from the historic Indian that you see in museums and such, and the modern contemporary Indian.
This is the motor.
That's the motor?
It goes fast.
Ah, here, I'm just gonna zoom in on it. So can you point out the motor?
It looks terrible. My
Right
bike
there?
looks terrible. Right there.
Don't be so judgmental. Your bike doesn't look terrible. It's got 2 wheels, handlebars, pedal, and a seat, and a motor.
And I wanted to disseminate Aboriginal spirituality, an interest, not the product, but an interest. So I make an object that is interesting, but has indigenous spiritual content, or cultural content, so that a question may be posed by the viewer. The purpose of my bike is it is a spiritual ideal. The horse mask is what the bike is about, and the horse masks are worn put on horses by the warriors that went into battle, and today horse masks are used to commemorate veterans of past wars and wars today.
What do you guys think? What's your favorite part about it so far? Building it?
I might just get a triangle of this,
And the seat.
a triangle of this, and just
It's pretty stylish.
sew it to there, and just to one spoke and wrap it there. Maybe, I don't know yet.
The way we're tinkering and playing with the bike in this project is a lot more intricate and detailed and more aesthetic than straight up functional. And usually for me, when I'm tinkering around with bikes, I'm shooting for like highest functionality, so that the bikes are perfect for me to ride. I'm always shooting for like the exact thing that I want to ride.
I think the aspect of decoration of the bicycle, the building the bicycle and teaching that to kids is really awesome. And then going from there and decorating it, it has connections to so many parts of culture. Right from First Nations regalia and building your own regalia to dance in and to show who you are, where you come from, your dreams, your ancestors, all of that sort of stuff. Métis culture, Métis people have always been very proud of themselves, of how they dress, of how they express themselves through their dress. And right to today, you know, hip hop culture or any kind of modern fads and stuff like that, decorating yourself is a huge component of how people express themselves and are able to express themselves. I really feel that if you meet somebody who's really into decorating themselves, you know that their spirit is joyous, that they have tapped into that joy of themselves and of who they are. We are sewing panels of cloth with interfacing in them to put in the frame, and they'll have ribbons on them like a ribbon shirt.
In our community in Kwejong, you know, a lot of the kids will also have. There's the community has a lot of Latino and American Indian, indigenous folks from the north and from the south as part of the community. And with lowriders' roots in the Mexican American or the Chicano community, it was a way of making some of these connections. I'd been working with two friends of mine, two Anishnaabeg friends of mine, Don Lyons and Oz Teeple, and we'd been meeting with elders in Lansing, Michigan, in Nequejong, talking about some of the community history, and the elders shared that you know, people don't visit anymore, that people don't just have the time to visit. And so I started thinking about the ways to you know, to create intentional meeting times, intentional reasons to get together, and it coalesced around the bicycle.
For one, this project connects artists with communities, which I personally really like doing in my employment. So we've worked with, the First Nations University has worked with Mother Teresa Middle School a number of times before. And so to have a chance to work with them again, more sort of one-on-one and over a longer period of time, was definitely an exciting thing. Secondly, the project as a whole really brings together a lot of different concepts and ideas that really ring true to how I see Indigenous identity in the arts moving forward. So today what we're doing, hopefully, is hearing some feedback. We've sent them off, we sent the students off with some questions to share with their caretakers, any family members, anybody really, for them to get feedback from. And that really ties back into Dylan Miner's concepts around visiting. So that's where I was really hoping to incorporate that part, is that these students are getting a chance to go with their families and relatives and learn from them, and then bring it back here and teach the group as a whole.
All right, it's a big old no. Okay, so did you have one? No?
They've affected the education on the reserves. They have their kind of own government on Treaty 4, including a chief, vice chief, you know. Government center allowing self-government. Additional notes. Treaty 4 is when we agree to the government that we will take these chunks of lands for reserve.
I've kind of been doing some thinking about how to bring all of the ideas, or an art form that can bring all of these ideas together. So we're going to be doing a lot of work with the rawhide, and probably it's going to primarily become these parfleche carriers.
So hopefully you're all super stoked about bikes. I'm getting to be an older man, my face hair is turning gray, and I'm still stoked about bikes.